Good morning or afternoon or evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Brittany, and welcome back to our Royal News Network weekly live streams. And yes, I know I'm an hour behind and a minute or two behind, and I don't look my best, I will say. But I had a very, very early morning this morning. I'm sure some of you have seen that poor Miss Pippa. Unfortunately, she fell off the bed and she she broke her poor elbow, and so my poor baby and I were at the vet from about 3:30 to 5:30 in the morning. So here she is. So she's got a little cast on her left paw. She's not feeling the best, and she'll need a special orthopedic doggy surgeon, apparently. So poor thing. So she did really well though. Apparently she charmed the vet staff, but my poor co-host here is not feeling it this morning. But that's okay. That's okay. But we did get a little bit more nap after we got home, and so hopefully they'll be able to get her scheduled for surgery soon. But yes, that is why the delay, if you hadn't heard so. And good morning. And yes, it was a long evening and very, very, very sad. And I felt really bad that she fell off the bed. I felt really bad. But I did think that her and I have solidarity now because I actually have screws in my left foot and I have a plate and screws in my right wrist. I don't know if you can tell or not. Probably not really. I have like this massive scar going down my wrist. So her and I will be partners together in that. So I brought her bed up so she can sleep right beside me. So hopefully she'll. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So I always get the feeling that she's like, I'm not so sure about you now, Ma. So yeah, somebody Ariel asked, how old is Pippa? She's 6. So she is 6 years old. And so yeah, she did pretty well recovering from her spaying, but I don't know about this. And I could tell this morning that she was a little not feeling great. But yeah, you'll see my hair isn't the best because we literally woke up about 30 minutes ago. Michelle P, thank you so much for the tip. Hugs and speedy recovery for Pippa. Thank you. We really do appreciate it. It's going to take a little bit, but I think she'll bounce back. Oh, thank you, Elsie, for treats for Pippa. Yes, thank you. Yeah, she'll really appreciate it. I don't think I had to kind of force feed her pain pills this morning. She did eat pretty well for her canned, but she didn't really want to eat the regular dog food or the pill. That was fun. That was fun. So anyways, guys, but yes, so it is a good morning, but it is a royal week. Next week we will have the South African state visit to the UK. So if you haven't been over to my fashion channel, I had a whole video of tiaras I thought perhaps Catherine and Camilla could wear. And in addition, we obviously have Harry and Meghan's reality TV show that's coming out in December that's been pretty much confirmed. I do find it interesting they haven't done any really PR for it, and I have a theory on that. And then we have the Monaco National Day, and I was looking at very, very early this morning, but I haven't had a chance to look since and see if we finally saw, because my favorite is like Charlotte Catsaragi and Beatrice Borromeo, and I just wanted to see what they wore, but I don't know if we actually did get if they actually were there or not. Because I was looking on my phone earlier this morning and I saw Stephanie and Caroline, and obviously Charlene and their 2 kids, which Charlene and Albert's 2 children are adorable. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, bright red in the hat. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Loving that from Beatrice. She is one of my favorites. That is totally a Dior look. Yay. Okay, so that's really exciting. That is very exciting. Okay, so I'll just go through and say good morning to everyone. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in all caps and I'll try to identify them the best I can. And And for those of you all in the United States, I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving too. All right. Good morning to Ritz, Renee, Judalyn, Azima, Johanna. He's asking how about Pippa. Yes, she's doing pretty good. Think she's jealous of ironically too, we're watching my parents' big dog, Maverick. He's a golden retriever, so he's busy chewing on a bone, and she likes to inspect him. So she was feeling good enough to growl at him when he attempted to eat her food. So she likes to sass him. So she's pretty good. Allison, good morning, Monique. Good morning, Brittany and fellow Royal Watchers. Yes, Evelyn. Good morning from Sicily. Wow. Zanny Lamb, hope Pippa is feeling better and you're both okay. Lots of love to you both. Thank you. Yeah, we're doing a bit better. Lord Merlin, hi from Warzawa. I hope I pronounced that right. Cindy Lou, good morning. Miss Lulu, I saw a tweet her dog broke out of her left elbow and had to take her to the vet. So you know the dog had surgery this morning. So I'll get a call at some point and they'll schedule the surgery sometime soon. But with Thanksgiving in the States, a lot of people take the next 3 work days off. Most people don't get them off, but a lot of people do take them off and take about a whole week. So, but I'll be home with her and making sure she doesn't get into too much trouble until we get this surgery scheduled. So hopefully she won't be uncomfortable too long. When I broke my foot, I had to wait a week to get the surgery because I had swollen really bad. So they were worried I might have compartment syndrome. So that was a rough week. So hopefully she doesn't have to wait that long, but we'll see. Shelly Lister, good morning from Lake Jackson, Texas. Michelle, Pearl, Karen, good morning. Kat, CJ, Jennifer, Katari from Finland, Juliet, Teresa, Michelle P. Everyone here is so sweet. Wishing you all a very early happy Thanksgiving. Yes, absolutely. So Gun, hello from Wales. Judy, good morning. TM, good morning from Puyallup. Azuma, Dorothy, good morning from Cincinnati. Elisa, good morning. Owen, Lizzie, all right. So many others. Okay, and I think I saw a question mark. Julie Blackman, has anyone signed up for the trip? Yes, I've had 4 people so far sign up for the trip. I'm planning on doing a full video explaining what we're going to be doing. And I just thought I would, so that way if people had questions, I could go ahead and answer them. But yes, we have 4 people going. It's to the UK. It's right, or to London, then the Cotswold. It's right after, a couple weeks after the coronation. So hopefully there'll be a lot of coronation memorabilia still out. And we'll also be able to go to the Tower of London where they have the crown jewels and the imperial scepter. All right, just looking through here. Sorry, I have a bit of allergies too. I'm allergic. My dog's technically hypoallergenic, but my parents' dog is not. So sometimes I may sneeze and get sniffly. I'll try not to do that too close to the mic. All right. Monique asks from Brooklyn, New York, what's your thoughts on King Charles did in regards to Princes Andrew and Harry? So this is basically adding additional counselors of state. Interestingly, they did not take Harry and Andrew off the list, but they did add Princess Anne and Prince Edward. I thought, again, that was a great thing to do because Andrew is basically persona non grata at this point, unless Victoria detracts her statements or says that she made them all up, which she seemed to kind of sort of do with Horowitz. Or at least just, she rescinded her accusations that he may have a path back to royal life just because he has not disrespected the crown in the same way Harry and Meghan have. But when it comes to Harry, he's not even in the country. It doesn't even make any sense for him to be on that list. But I think a lot of people have said, and I do think it's true, that Charles and the rest of the family are just waiting for the moment when Harry comes back. That's what they're waiting for. So they had this plan in place that they would just go ahead and go, well, he's not a counselor of state. So that'll make it easier. I think in a way it does, but I also think I wish they would just have taken them off because they don't need the oxygen. Harry and Meghan don't need the oxygen of potentially being counselors of state, being able to step in directly for the king. And again, they don't even live there. And Harry apparently is full bore Californian now. So I don't know. That's really not a great thing. All right. Looking through here for sure all. Poor Miss Pippa. Definitely keep up the pain pill. They just gonna keep being pains regardless. Hugs to the baby. Aw. Somebody asked, was she named after Pippa Middleton? So she wasn't technically, although I did remember hearing the name and going, oh, that is a good name. So Pippa is technically named for, I looked through the House of York, whoever had the York title. So obviously we have the Dukedom of York, and I looked back through and I like the name already. And I did find somebody who was named Philippa. So she's technically named after that person. And her middle names are Beatrice and Eugenie after the York girls. So she is very, since she's a Yorkie. So she's very Yorkie inspired. Monique Johnson, did you hear that Harry did a resignation letter to Netflix? Is that true? I haven't heard any official statement to that effect. And I would say it's probably not true at this point, although I could see them being very, I think Harry and Meghan are frustrated with the process and what happened. And like we had this whole story, and I was going to do it. I think I'll do the video for tomorrow, talking about how when it came to Harry and Meghan, they really had this, I think, thought that they wanted to do their reality TV show, I think, just as like pseudo royals going around doing tours or something, because that they were apparently didn't want to do any filming at home. And I was like, well, that's the only reason people are interested in you guys at all is the aspect of seeing royals at home. What do you have when it comes to going to the UN that other people don't have? Because you don't represent anything broader than yourself. You just represent your own country. Sorry, you're not your own country. You only represent your own business interests. And because of that, I feel like Harry and Meghan are just, yeah, they just don't, I mean, them being at home, I think, is much more interesting, would have much broader appeal than them doing that weird pseudo royal tour thing that they did in New York and in other places. I think people are going to get bored with that really quickly because we have actual royals who do that. We have actual royals who are part of that and not just Harry and Meghan. All right. Good morning, Yasmina from Egypt. I've always really wanted to go to Egypt. I tried to convince my parents to let me go or have a tour when I was graduating from college, and they said no. So somebody asked, why did the boys wear such oversized coats? This may be in reference to Monaco. I'm not sure. It could be just that they're waiting for the boys to grow into them. And so that's what they're planning on doing. And so that could be the case there, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly. How do you so Susan Crafts asks, how do you think the Netflix show will do? So I have a couple thoughts on it. Number one, it depends on how interesting it actually is. We know so much about Harry and Meghan that part of the appeal, the mystery is dead. The mystery is dead. I don't think anybody is, to a certain extent, all that interested in seeing Harry and Meghan recreate their life as royals while being private citizens. That's just weird. And again, we have real royals for that. So why do we need Harry and Meghan faking it? Also, when you look at Meghan's podcast, it's so contrived. I anticipate the reality show will be kind of the same way. And so I feel like the inauthenticity of it will be a damage to it. I don't feel like people will be super thrilled that they're like, well, I'm not having a hard time connecting, because reality TV show, yes, they are contrived, but there is an element of truth there. And if that truth doesn't work or that truth doesn't resonate, the thing kind of falls apart. And I anticipate that would be what Harry and Meghan run into. And then we've seen with Meghan's podcast, and I feel like with so many other things about Harry and Meghan, is that whatever they do generates a lot of noise, but not a lot of dedicated watchers and interest. So, for example, for Meghan's podcast, sure, yes, Spotify pushed her to number one. I absolutely believe they did that, because none of her episodes ever broke the top 5 ever. So they pushed her to number one, and they left her there for a week or two, and then. But we've seen the every week the episode interest decrease, partly because I don't think she's offering anything all that interesting, and the media covers it all. So why do I need to watch? The media is going to watch it for me. I don't even have to deal with it. So I feel like that's another thing to consider there too. But I think it'll generate a lot of noise, whether or not it generates a huge amount of views, or if those views stay for one episode and then drop off, or if they stick their foot in their mouth again. That is totally the big question. Leslie, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Hold on just one second. Let me see if I can get you. Why don't you lay down? Do you not want to lay down? Okay. All right. I was going to see if Miss Pippa wanted to lay down. She didn't. Hi there. Hi, Nicole from the city of Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Super informative channel you have. Love it. Oh, thank you so much. I really do enjoy this little channel. I was feeling a bit down this week because I was like, oh, there's a couple things I should have had some more time to do some great research on. But I do live a bit by the seat of my pants here. But I try to get the best information possible. And if I do not at times, then please provide me a little grace. I do sleep about about on the average about 5 hours a night to try to get everything done. IMEG says, how disastrous this Netflix thing do you think? I feel like it's weird because Netflix will release it, but Harry is hesitant. It is bad for Harry, only for the docuseries itself. Is it just a mess? So this is what I think Netflix will do for the release. I think they'll just drop it. I think they've had Taylor Swift, Beyonce, a couple other big name musicians just like boom, drop a whole new album in like the middle of the night, basically. I feel like that's what Netflix will do with Harry and Meghan, partly because Harry and Meghan, I don't think want to or are willing to do press, because then they're not going to do the normal press tour, because then they're subjected to a lot of probing questions, which they don't want to. And I think people, for the most part, would respect, especially in the industry, which is more favorable to them, won't push them too much. So I feel like that's what will happen with Harry and Meghan. Yet at the same time, it's like you will always have one journalist, or at least I hope somebody who's going to ask them the hard question. And you have the possibility of them not being able to answer things well, not be able to answer things consistently like they did in the Oprah Winfrey interview. And so you have Meghan being very, contrived and controlled in one corner, and Harry just kind of just saying whatever he wants in the other. So I don't feel like they're the best publicity people, to be honest. And I feel like the best thing for Netflix to do is just drop it and just let it go, because it will generate interest, because Harry and Meghan do generate interest. That is absolutely the case. But will it generate staying interest? Will it generate dollars to Netflix? Will people sign up merely to see Harry and Meghan's reality TV show? That's the $20,000 question. And I think Netflix is seriously wondering, along with Spotify finding out, that Harry and Meghan just don't have staying power. Yes, people love the car crash mentality, but that doesn't turn into dollar signs for anybody else, I think, but Harry and Meghan. So I think they're all just kind of they just had this grand idea of who Harry and Meghan, what they could bring, and they're finding out, despite, whatever Harry and Meghan have said, that they're difficult to work with, that Meghan is very demanding and a perfectionist to the point where you can't really get something done. I think, like I said in my video, when it comes to her podcast, I think Meghan is lazy to a certain extent about it, that she lets the producers do most of the heavy lifting, and then she interviews the celebrity, and then she has her monologue performance for the podcast, and that's pretty much it. She doesn't, I doubt, do much behind the scenes really with it at all. And granted, some people I'm sure don't. I would always want to do a little bit of research myself, because I like research. But informing questions and figuring out, because when you are doing an interview with somebody, you really do need to know what to ask them and what to talk about, because at some point they will throw something out there, and if you're not ready for it, if you don't know how to react to it, if you're like, oh yeah, I did read that, so let's go to this question, then I feel like it makes the interview run smoother. I don't feel like Meghan at this point still is a very good interviewer. I think she's still pretty bad, at least last time I listened, I was surprised. There are like 8 episodes out, and I was like, really? We've all lived through 8 episodes of torture of this crap? But I haven't listened to one recently, and so it's just because they're just so difficult to listen to, because I don't feel like, again, she offers anything to anybody but herself. So it'll be interesting. Fatima, good morning. Good morning. All right. Let's go. Oh, Andrea says, seems all our YouTube friends, creators, are having issues with their pets. Been there, done that, and it can be stressful. Yes, it can be. She's had a couple of funny things, but it's not going to be it's going to be a pricey little fix here. So yeah, it was part of her elbow, I guess, that broke. Um, uh, Lone Brigitte asks regarding the trip. Can one of us sign up for Denmark? I believe so, and that would be great because I believe it's open to anybody from all over the world. So you don't. I mean, you could even do it from the UK if you wanted to. I don't know if that would be that exciting, but it would be something I think that you could definitely sign up for from the UK. From Denmark, I don't think there's a restriction that you have to be just from the States. So if that's something that you want to do, that would be so fun. And I could ask you about Denmark. I've never been there. I'd love to go to Denmark. Monique says, thank you so much for answering my question. Of course, of course. I'm glad I can. I'm glad I can. So this is interesting. Tonya asked, hi Brittany, did you hear about the GQ award? Apparently rumor has it Meghan's check bounced. Is this true? They did not give her the award last night. So I do not have any behind the scenes things about stuff at this point. A lot of my conjecture comes from just reading a lot and knowing a bit about human nature. I've been a historian growing in training. So it's just when you understand human nature, some things just make sense. So I don't know any particulars behind that, but yeah, I did see it was weird because I did see that there was actually a Daily Mail article about it. And so I thought, well, that's pretty specific. If she's adjusted and said that they've made this article about it, the rumor must be, I guess, fairly good. But I could also see there's been a couple times where they're like, oh, they're going to the Oscars, they're going to the Emmys, they're going to the Golden Globes, and they never go. So it could be one of those things where they were just pushing it. I don't think they're perhaps to the point where their checks are bouncing yet. But at the same time, I just do really feel like they are blowing through their money. They're burning through it really, really quickly. That house they bought was too big, too pricey. I'm sure they used some of it as a tax write-off. They also have the security that they pay for, which is, insanely expensive. And the house itself has issues according to the Cut interview. Here he was working on the pipes because there was an issue with the pipes. And a house like that's big, any issue you have is magnified like times 10 because the house itself is so big. So if every house in a 16,000 square foot house has issues, that's going to be a monstrously expensive repair. And it sounds like, and if this house sat there for a while, you're more likely to have issues. And the older the house is, again, the more likely you will have to issues, even if it's supposedly a $50 million house, you will have problems. We were at the Biltmore last weekend. I still need to get my footage together. And they were showing us there's this corner. I mean, it's a massive home. It's the largest privately owned home in the United States. It's like 175,000 square feet, if you can imagine that. It was built during the Gilded Age. We had homes that were similar in size, although I think may have been still the biggest. But you can actually look at a list of Gilded Age homes, and most of them were demolished because they are so expensive to upkeep. And we were up on the fourth floor, and they were showing us this little corner of plaster. And then she's like, you're probably wondering about the plaster over here. There's a leak in the roof somewhere, and they haven't figured it out yet. And I'm like, the house is 100 years old. So you can imagine all the money they generate goes back into that house for pretty much the family that still owns it makes a small profit, but everything that they make goes into that house. So all that to say, I feel like Harry and Meghan, I would not necessarily be surprised if their funds are starting to run a bit thin. Meghan also has very, very expensive taste. So I imagine that if they're struggling, again, not a surprise at all. I don't think she was probably up for the award. I think it was maybe either a rumor they planted or a rumor somebody else planted for some reason. But again, it doesn't really make Harry and Meghan look good. But they're always like that. They always say things, oh yeah, we're getting something, and then it never happens. It's like, well, why did you guys even put that out there? Because I feel like you guys did put that out there. We're going to the Oscars, and then they never go. But that's just Harry and Meghan. Asks, is the Princess of Wales, Catherine, pregnant? So I don't think she is. Her and William has been pretty specific that he's only wanted. Actually, really, originally he only wanted 2 kids. Catherine wanted 3, so they had 3. I think number 4 I don't think would really happen. especially now that they had the extra pressure of being the Prince and Princess of Wales. However, I will say, due to the fact that Catherine looked like, either that she hadn't slept well the night before, she wasn't feeling well. It could have been the emotions of the event too, and also the shadow of the hat. The wide brim hat, the shadow really just didn't work for her. And she did look like she did if she, was struggling with morning sickness. So it could be the case that perhaps they're expecting baby number 4. They just decided, what, hey, we still want to do this. We still have time. So they just went ahead and had baby number 4. And I would appreciate that because that would push Harry and Meghan further down the line of succession. Yes, that would. Yes, that would. So I'm really hoping for that. JB, hi, from Las Vegas. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Thank you. All right, Roxanne, thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. Love your content, Ms. Brittany. Keep up the awesome work. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to give you guys the best things that I can and try to find things that are interesting and unique. And there's definitely, I'm super excited because I had this whole vision for this platform and I can't wait to make it a reality and keep adding things and options for you guys to enjoy, like different avenues of content, different royals. And I am super excited too, because I did order the shirts, so they're on their way. I'm so stoked. I got to still figure out how to do the whole ordering system. I can do them a bit directly through YouTube. I have to figure out if that's the best deal or not. Because my biggest question is, how do I handle shipping? I don't know. So, and then the next week I'm going to try to get them up on the webs, on wherever they're going to be as soon as possible. So I'll get them right before and I'll work on getting all that up so that you guys can hopefully check them out. And maybe it's something that you might want for Christmas or just for fun. Julie asks, will Harry and Meghan do PR for their series? Shouldn't that be starting? Last I heard, Netflix had not even verified it. So I did talk about that a bit. I think they'll just drop it. I think at this point, Harry and Meghan, they're so persnickety, they can't do a normal PR tour. Even Harry with his book cannot do a normal PR tour. And they've created that conundrum for themselves, but also because they're still attached to the monarchy, they can't do the hawking that other people do. Now, will they do something with a couple of people? Maybe. I could see that. But I could also see Netflix going, okay, both of them are problematic. So we'll just drop it. We'll just drop it. And the noise from the series itself will carry it. I'm sure that's true because everybody will dissect it. There'll be a lot of hate watching, a decent amount. The question is, will it turn into actual subscribers and actual money that Netflix needs? That's the big question for Harry and Meghan. If they can't do that, I don't think their contract will last very long. And honestly, I think they're still incredibly difficult to work for. And I think most of Hollywood is finally figuring that out and going, we're not really all that interested in that. So, Tonya, thank you so much for the tip. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Jennifer asks, do you know if there's any truth to the rumors that Harry walked out on Meghan? So I don't know. Well, there was that one weird blind where it was like a former girlfriend of Harry's. And I think they even said blonde girlfriend who was at a hotel. Okay, we know for sure it's not Chelsea or Cressida. Cressida is pregnant, like heavily pregnant, about to give birth or has given birth very, very recently. So it's definitely not her. Chelsea has a jewelry business. So I could see her maybe traveling I know she has traveled to the United States before for her business. So it definitely could be that Chelsea is there, but she has a child. I'm not sure if she's married or not. I don't think we've ever gotten official confirmation, but she does have a baby now. And she was recently photographed. It looked like probably somewhere in Southern Africa, overlooking the ocean with her child, her son. So I don't think it's either one of them. It could be somebody else. But I really don't think necessarily Harry has stepped out on Meghan. I just think the tensions of a couple who have nothing in common is starting to get to them. Because again, I really just feel like Harry and Meghan at the end of the day, despite having the connection of being two children who were raised in divorced households, I don't think they have anything in common. They had none of the same likes in common. What I mean is they didn't like to do the same things. I feel like Meghan's thing is the shopping, yoga, and doing influencer-y things. And Harry liked hunting. He liked the military stuff. He enjoyed going to pubs and drinking. And that's not Meghan's thing. So if your partner doesn't enjoy the same things you do, that will eventually start to really make it difficult. Because if you don't like doing the same things, that's really tough. And I feel like Harry and Meghan are in that spot. Okay, Chris asks, not taking Harry and Andrew off was a very subtle, nothing for either of them to complain about. That's very true. That's very true. Sorry. It just doesn't give them too much to complain about, yet it also keeps them a bit in line as well. But I feel like, again, more needs to be done. Come on. Asma asks, what activism did Meghan do before she married Harry? Well, whatever it was paid for by Sunshine Sachs. That's the truth. People, because they go off and it's like, she was at the UN, she gave this speech. And I'm like, okay, explain to me why an actress from a no-name series was at the UN, except for the fact that she had our PR company pay for that. Explain why in the world they would ask her to talk on that issue. You know, I can hear, if I could put in sound effects, I'd put in cricket sound effects, because I don't feel like her activism is non-existent in my sense. It's everything she does is completely and utterly self-serving. So I don't feel like she has really a genuine bone in her body, really. So she's just one of those people who, she talks a big game, but when push comes to shove, they don't give that much. So when it came to that parental leave company, what did Meghan and Harry give them? Well, they gave them $25 gift cards to Starbucks, and there were like 25 people. So that cost Meghan what, a couple $100? And then you have the Moms Against Gun Violence lobby, and she sent them bagels and coffee. So whoop-de-doo, that's a big expense right there. And then even she took a private plane to Uvalde, Texas, and gave them Costco food. So this is not a woman who spends a lot of money on other people, really, I don't think. And so that is just my opinion. I don't think her activism doesn't exist in the slightest. Yeah, Monique says, why not film some at home? That is suspicious. And Ella says, no children at home. So yeah, I think I've always been of the opinion that the kids do exist, that they are Harry and Meghan's. But I feel like Meghan has concocted this gigantic conspiracy around her kids, in part because when she finally shows them at some point, she's hoping for a big payday. That's what I'm thinking. So if she can keep this in her mind, this element of mystery and this element of conspiracy there, so that somebody will pay her a boatload of money for her kids' pictures. I'm sorry, unfortunately, that time has passed. When they finally released Lily's picture, yes, there was interest, but when I went to Heathrow Airport and I looked at the newsstands, the Sun, which had the exclusive picture, wasn't selling all that well compared to the other ones. Some of the other ones were further removed. So I feel like Harry and Meghan vastly underestimated their kids and what it was going to be good for to take. They just thought, well, we can make this kind of connection, conspiracy, and people will be super interested. The mistake they've made as well is that we don't see them with their kids at all. Ergo, when they talk constantly about being parents, I don't care, because I've never seen you parent your child. I've barely seen you hold your own children. Now, I'm sure they do that at home. That's not what I'm saying. But the connection with the public between this image Harry and Meghan want us to see them as parents, these great, fantastic parents, and them actually parenting, it doesn't exist. There's this chasm of lacking of data. And we've seen Catherine and William parent their children very, very well. We've seen Catherine comfort her kids, chat with them, and, cuddle with them. And in a way we just haven't seen with Harry and Meghan. So their proclamations that, oh, we're parents, we're the best parents, like, nobody's buying it. I'm sorry, but just nobody's buying it, because we don't see you with your children. And that's kind of critical for the whole thing, is if you want me to see you as a parent, I actually need to see you parent. If I don't see that, it's just impossible to really connect you with being a parent, because I don't even see it. And that's my personal opinion on it. So Christina, a bit late, but finally made it to a live. Yay! Yes. So we had to push it back by an hour this morning, but hopefully that'll let more people come in. Leslie Warren, I'm not sure if I thanked you for the super sticker yet, so thank you. Leslie said, hi, Brittany. I heard through sources that Meghan and Harry were really staying at the Soho house, and the house is a facade. Maybe that is why they didn't want to film there. That could definitely be the case. I don't feel like it got I don't think them having the cut interview did as well as they thought it would in terms of, her actually being in their house. I don't think I don't know if there's a Soho House in LA though. I can't remember if there is or not. Because I don't feel like, because there's one in New York. There's one in, I mean, it would make sense that there's one in LA. But I think it comes down to is Harry and Meghan want to be seen as royal without actually being royal. That's a big part of their Achilles heel as well. And they just don't want to. I think if we actually saw inside their lives and saw their everyday and saw them naturally, I think people's eyebrows would be raised. And I don't think it would go particularly well for them, as it did in the Cut interview. We can see through some BS. And so Meghan wants something that's utterly contrived and that she can control. So that is Meghan's thing, I think. And so, but I do think they are living separate lives. I could see them potentially renting out that house, but again, they're so concerned about security. I also don't see that at the same time, but it will be interesting to see. Oh, Kat and CJ, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. She is now sleeping or trying to sleep. So she's laying down on her little bed. John Alvarez asked, "Did you get more books on the royals?" Yes, I got a lot of books on the royals. Not gonna lie, I've been looking for the Vogue issue for the Queen's death because they do put the British Vogue out in Barnes and Nobles, and I've been looking for that. Been unsuccessful so far. But then I just go and I keep buying other royal books because I'm like, oh, this is fun. And I hopefully some weekend soon we'll go and go to this. There's this used bookstore that I liked where I used to live, and they have one closer to where my new place I live now. And I want to go there because they had some really good prices, and I found some really interesting older royal books, like what was it, Letters Between Edward and Wallace. So I haven't had a chance to read that one yet, but that one would be that would be super interesting. Sorry, I just was reading the Japan princess is what I'd like to call private. Yes, so she is private. She lives in New York with her husband, and she's been stripped of everything because Meghan complains about the British system, but oh my gosh, the Japanese system is brutal. Both of the empresses have basically had periods of muteness, like of selected mutism, because it's just so restrictive. So when Meghan complains, oh, they didn't give me, I didn't get the fashion choices I want. I was like, well, honey, go and live in Japan for a while as a royal and see how easy you have it, because it really ain't that bad. Okay, so looking for more questions. Ellen says, "Can't believe I missed the first 15 minutes. We so appreciate you." Oh, thank you. But hey, no worries if you missed it. That's one of those things. I compare them to the Anna Nicole Smith show. She was a hot topic for a while, but I don't mean to be disrespectful because she's passed away, but nobody knows who she is now. That is very true. So Anna Nicole Smith, she was a Playboy model. She did some modeling for Guess, and she had, I think somewhat a Marilyn-esque to a certain extent look. She was very tall, very voluptuous, and she ended up dying in a what was it? In a hotel or something in Florida, if that's right. And she was one of the first people with a reality TV show, and her TV show was on Netflix. And it did really well at the time, or pretty well, where people were like, oh, because she wasn't that bright. Sorry to say. So the kind of the interesting thing is like, oh, okay. And it's poor her son died, I think, before she did. So she had a teenage son. She was a teenage mom. She married like this oil baron who was like 89 and she was 21. So, we all know where she married the oil baron, right? So she led a very interesting life and sadly passed away quite young, leaving a daughter behind. But her daughter has been raised well by her dad, it seems like. But anyways, but yeah, I think they'll flame out really quickly. So Elsie asked, "Did you watch the TMZ special about Harry and Meghan?" So somebody did mention that, and I did see it. I've heard it's awful about the royal family, and I've heard a bit from TMZ, and they're totally on the train of, well, Meghan was treated, it was racism, it was awful. And while there was some minor publications like internet trolls that everybody deals with that may have said things that were inappropriate, the vast majority of the UK press was very, very respectful towards Harry and Meghan. So this idea that everybody was horrifically, racist to her, it just it's non-existent. It's made up, in my opinion, because it fits her narrative, and it's just really, really sad. So I feel like I should watch it because I've heard a couple things and it was bad. So I should watch it and see where it is. It's so hard though because I just finding time to like watch everything. I actually I'm living in an apartment complex right now, and I'm not sure what I'll do in the next year, but I was like, there's an apartment like a catty corner across the way that's like a small 1 bedroom. And I'm like, maybe I could use that as a studio or something. Because I'm right now stuck in my small room, and there's hard days with that. There's hard days with that. Ariel asks, isn't she number 43 on Spotify? She's pretty low. The show itself, last time I looked, she was at number 25 or so for the show, and her episode was down there. I can't remember exactly what it was, but again, it's just people get super like people love the car crash thing. They listen to the first bit and then they're like, this really isn't all that interesting. Because again, it's way too much about Meghan, way too much about her personal grievances. I don't think people are interested in that. Christina says, I ordered Sam books some places that had it listed at for over 100. Wow. I do not know who that is. Okay. Let's go. Oh, Peace Pacific says the resignation letter by Harriet was imagined by Dan Wooten. So yeah, I think I do remember that now, seeing them. Did you all hear about the walkout from Harry at the restaurant Duchess? I haven't heard about that, but again, there's a lot of, I think, rumors that I think are true that Harry and Meghan, I don't think things are going well for them. Again, I don't think they have anything in common. I think they have money woes. I think they have pressure from these companies that they've signed up for. These companies aren't just going to go, oh, you're royal. Oh, take 6 years to get a reality TV show together. We don't care. Netflix is like, we're losing subscribers. We need something now. And Harry's like, but my grandma, we don't care. But I said some bad things about my dad. We don't care. We are a business. We do not care about your personal grievances. Actually, we want to exploit them for our network. So yeah, get your behind in gear. We're pushing this up, and yeah, that's what it is. So I think Harry is finding out that the what he thought was going to be sometimes an easy ride is not that. But I think again they are, and Harry in particular, given the fact that he was oh gosh, sorry. The lack of sleep is getting to me. That Harry and Meghan just didn't visit the queen like the day before she died. Harry could have seen her the day before she died. So the last time he saw her was at the Platinum Jubilee that we know of. And not only that, but they had a day or two where they could have seen her. They could have seen her earlier and they didn't. And Harry will have to deal with that for the rest of his life. And if Meghan is part of the reason why she's like, well, Harry, we don't really have the time to go visit your grandmother, he will come to resent her for that. The resentment, if it's not there already, especially given Philip, it's growing. I can't imagine any relationship where that resentment, is not absolutely starting to boil and bubble. I think initially after the queen's death, I'm sure he was just in kind of protective mode and just in shock. But the more he thinks about it, and again, I don't know any of the behind the scenes things. I'm not entirely sure, but I knew especially as soon as they said, well, Meghan's coming with Harry. And I'm like, oh, heck to the no, she ain't coming. There's no way in the world they would let her at Balmoral if the queen was really that ill or dying. No way. Absolutely not. And she didn't end up going. So I feel like, again, this is something where we'll have to see, but are they not doing well? Are they fighting in restaurants and in areas? Yeah, I think so. Sam Carpenter, thank you so much for the tip. I appreciate it. Crickets chirping seems appropriate for Harry and Meghan, both literal and metaphorical. Hope Pippa feels better very soon. Thank you. Yeah, she's sleeping. She's sleeping. So I finally got her. I had to force feed her a bit of pain meds before this video because we went and we slept a bit because we had a long evening. So she is hopefully feeling a little bit better. But I feel like dogs are kind of funny because she was acting almost fine except for the fact that she wouldn't put any weight on that paw after she fell. And so I was like, are you okay? And she, but now she seems like once they go to the vet, it's like, oh, it feels so much worse. And I'm like, but it's supposed to feel better when you go to the vet, not worse. But I felt like she felt better before we went to the vet. So I think she resents me, not for the fact that she hurt herself falling off my bed, but because I took her to the vet. In doggy mind, I guess that could be the case. Okay. John Pritchard says, do you think Tyler Perry is is illed up as a nest of Mr. Markle. Oh, that could be interesting. I have no idea about that. But that weird story that he told about her getting baby formula, and I'm like, was that necessary to tell? So the story is that he asked Meghan on behalf of one of his staff members to get baby formula because we had a pretty big shortage here in the United States while she was in the UK. Now, do I think Meghan personally got that baby formula? No. I think she had an assistant get it. Do I think she probably did it? Probably. I can't see why not. Does it need to be publicized? No. Does it? Yeah, it doesn't need to be publicized in the slightest. It really doesn't. And it's again one of those efforts to make Meghan seem more likable than she is, and that she's such this generous, compassionate, loving, amazing person. I'm like, yeah, I don't totally buy that. Tell me when she does that for her own family. Now, if she went out and did an errand on behalf of Catherine, who was busy with three children while Meghan's two kids were being cared for in California, now that would be a story. That would be a story. Meghan having an assistant go and get baby formula. I'm sorry, but that's not really a story. Kids relevant. Oh, thank you so much for the tip. Looking very professional, young lady. Great live this morning as usual. Keep up the great work, Victoria. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I did decide to put on. These are one of my favorite sweaters. They have these four or five button details on them. I had them in, I get them from like TJ Maxx and Marshalls, and I literally have them in almost every color. Anytime I see a new color, I was like, ooh. And studious with the glasses, although I hate my glasses, but I thought it distracts from the fact that I don't have eye makeup on. But yeah, it's a morning. It's been a morning. Michelle says, love your channel. I'd watch one every day if I could. I love the way you present all the info, and so not surprising you're growing so fast. Thank you. Yes, I wish I could produce more sometimes too, but life and sleep are important things, and I try to get to the gym. I ordered a food delivery service because I don't have as much time to think about meals. So it's called Freshly. The first one was good because I wanted something that was kind of fresh-ish. So that's all to say that life is busy. So Erica says, do you know if Meghan Markle was going to voice Pearl in the dropped animated series? Didn't she say once that one of her names means Pearl? Yes, I think absolutely 1,000% she was going to voice Pearl. I think it was a huge vanity project, like pretty much everything Harry and Meghan do. That it was dropped, again, is not a surprise because I don't think anybody was, again, they figured out that, oh, working for Harry and Meghan, this is no fun. And I don't think Meghan and Harry are particularly good producers, to be quite honest with you guys. I don't think they are able to really bring something to fruition very well. And even when they do, they complained already about the reality TV show, which I'm like, oh man, guys, that's just so tacky in my opinion. Asma says, if she is a perfectionist, why isn't she contributing to her podcast? So I think she's a weird perfectionist where I think she demands everybody else does everything and then gets mad if they don't do it right and keeps making them do it over and over and over again without giving them specific directions about what to do or as specific. She's one of those who expects you to read her mind. That would be my guess. But again, that's just me. That is just me. Okay, so I'm getting down through here and a couple other. Tanya, I don't know. I can't remember if I saw your super sticker, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that I grabbed you if I didn't, because sometimes I have this thing and it pops them up to the top and then sometimes it doesn't. So, and my brain's not working as well as it normally does this morning. So maybe this hasn't been quite as good a podcast or live stream. We'll know. Lizzie asked, thank you so much for the tip. Will Princess Charlotte be given the option to wear the Spencer tiara upon marriage? I hear it's only worn by women of the Spencer family. I love your videos. Greetings from Puerto Rico. So here's what I think. And I did hear at one point that perhaps there was kind of a bit of thought that maybe the Spencers would leave the Spencer tiara to Charlotte. I could kind of sort of see that because again, if it's left to the crown, it goes into the crown vault, so that means it's there forever, and they don't have to deal with the inheritance tax. Because what happens with these large families is that they give out this inheritance. They when they pass things through generations, unfortunately, they have to sell a good portion of it because every time they're hit with inheritance taxes, and that depletes their reserves. So when it comes to the Spencers, unless they put everything into a trust, which is a smart way to do things, I think they'll suffer with the challenges of trying to pay inheritance taxes, and the Spencer tiara could be a casualty of that. Now, do I think that's a strong possibility? No, not really, but it still could definitely happen. But I don't think, given the massiveness of the British collection, I don't really see the need for them to lean on the Spencer family for the Spencer tiara. It could be something where they decide to do it at some point. But for the British, at least for her wedding, Princess Charlotte, and again, was a little bummed with Catherine and William because they did not go with the tradition of putting Arthur as a middle name for George, because that is what they do for the generations. So Charles and William, I believe, both had the middle name of Arthur, kind of hearkening back to the King Arthur's court and everything. So they didn't do that for George, but I'm really hoping the tradition they stick with, which we've seen now for 3 generations, so hopefully number 4 would be Charlotte and on the way, is that she will wear for her wedding Queen Mary's fringe tiara, because that has been worn by the firstborn blood princess of every generation for her wedding. So that's what I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Sometimes Catherine and William, I feel like, are not as into tradition like that as everybody else. But I'm really hoping that they decide to do that, because again, I just think it would be absolutely lovely, lovely to see. And I think that would be super cool. I mean, obviously the Spencer tiara would be fantastic as well, but I just don't see that. I think the Spencers will want to keep that one. Oh, mac and cheese from Israel. Thank you so much for the tip. Hi from Israel. Love your channel. Rumor is the formula was for Harry. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. True Scandinavia asks, will Archie and Lilibet have royal British accents or simply American accents? They'll totally have American accents, 100% American accents. I can't foresee them having anything British, really. Yeah, I don't think so, because they've lived in the UK, sorry, in the US. They've been raised in the US. Their friends are from the US. Their family, whatever family has been deemed necessary by Meghan is in the US. So I don't foresee them having any other accent, unfortunately. Okay, so Julia Davison says, I heard that TMZ documentary was on last night with Harry and Meghan. He plans to put it on YouTube. We'll have to look. We do technically have cable, but I don't generally use it very much. I stream, or I'm doing stuff for the videos, and I'm editing while I'm watching another video. So it's just, yeah, a lot of not as much time to sit around, because I do want to, at some point, hopefully when this can go full time, being able to review a lot of different things. That would be always been a huge part of the content I want to produce, but time to actually like sit down and focus and watch something is just not always the time I have. So not always, but I think that definitely but that TMZ thing, based on what I've heard a little bit on them from another interview, they are totally in camp Harry and Meghan. And that could be potentially because Harry and Meghan are paying them. That part of their PR effort is to get somebody on their side, so they're paying TMZ. But again, it all comes down to, I feel like very much what Harry and Meghan preyed on in the Oprah Winfrey interview is the ignorance of most of the American audience. They knew most Americans don't understand protocol, don't understand precedents. They don't understand that, for example, just because Prince Harry is a prince doesn't mean his children automatically are a prince and princess. They didn't understand that. And that was part of my big frustration, is like, I knew they were saying things that most Americans, probably not anybody on this channel, but most Americans probably just wouldn't understand is incorrect, or just an exaggeration, or just a general kind of falsehood. So I feel like that was a big frustration for me, and that TMZ is definitely going on the Oprah Winfrey route. They're all tea time with Memmas. Thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. I really appreciate that. Yay. This has been such a good live stream. I wasn't sure, because I was like, my brain is not, I was trying to text at like 5 something in the morning, and I was trying to write loud, and I kept writing load. I was like, I know that's wrong, but my brain just can't seem to figure out what that is. I literally wrote it 2 times going, well, that's wrong. I know it's not that. So again, if you guys haven't heard, if you're joining later in the podcast, my poor dog Pippa, unfortunately, she broke her elbow last night. She fell off the bed. And so I spent about 2 I was up from about 3 to about 6 in the morning helping her, going to the emergency vet, dealing with there. So I'm still quite tired and my brain's just not working quite as well. So I hope this seemed to have gone pretty well. So hopefully it did. Oh, Karen says, hi, Brittany, you look great with no makeup, natural beauty. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Because I was like, well, maybe my glasses would distract from the fact that I should have maybe put, I don't know. But I was just honestly trying to make sure at least she went and she pottied and she did do that. So that was good. She's kind of still not totally figuring out the cast arm thing. So she's kind of held it away from her and kind of figured out. But she finally found a spot that she liked to pee in. So Liza Jean asked, will Meghan ever reconnect with her father and siblings? I don't think so. Unless it benefits her in some way to do so, to like have some sort of reunion show or something. Maybe I could see it at some point, but honestly, I just don't see her. I don't think she cares. Maybe she does. I hope she does. I hope she does but if she does, then why wouldn't she? I don't know. I think Meghan just doesn't see her father as useful anymore. She doesn't really care about her siblings. And I, to a certain extent, understand they were a lot older than her. She probably really didn't interact with them all that much. But I think she also thought that because she wasn't that close to her siblings and she didn't see them as fitting her narrative and her world, that she just dismissed them and thought they would go away quietly. I think that was a huge mistake on her part. She needed to pay them off if she wanted them to do that. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't think she even cared enough about whatever fuss they could raise to actually deal with them. And I think that was a really, really dumb idea on her part, in my opinion. She shouldn't. If I was her, I wouldn't have done that, because I would have been like, well, let's think through what we need to do. Not that I'm super famous, but hey, and I don't really have any skeletons in my closet, but people do, there's some people who will make up something about you. There could be somebody from like my old high school way back in the day. I don't think they would care, but they could make up something about you. So Jenna asked, did you hear the Prince of Wales and family got a new puppy? Well, I know they got Orla about a year, maybe so ago, when their puppy Lupo was I think probably they knew he was probably going to pass away pretty quickly, so they got a new puppy from her brother James. But I don't know if they got a new one. I haven't heard if they've gotten an additional one, but they do have one dog that is pretty young. So poor Lupo passed away. R.I.P. Lupo. Asima says, are all the episodes of Archetypes released now? So the answer is no. And how do we know this? Well, I didn't listen to the last episode, but I read the article about it from the Telegraph. And the Telegraph said the worst 3 lines in the whole thing were, see you next week, or see you next time, or something like that. So we do have at least a couple more. Honestly, though, they're just so dull. They're just so dull. Like, I don't know why anybody would listen to them. Like, really, really, I mean, I just don't think that that she gives anything that people would consider, that most people would find benefit from. And I feel like that's they're so specific. And I did think that would be her Achilles heel, is that they're so specific they wouldn't have broad appeal, because she doesn't have broad appeal. And that is, I think, a really, really, bad thing, is to not have that broad appeal, because longevity is about getting people from all walks of life to listen to your channel. Meghan only appeals to progressive white liberals who live in Los Angeles area and New York. That's generally her audience. That's a pretty small portion compared to somebody like Joe Rogan, who, I was listening to somebody sometime and they said, well, I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast. And I was like, oh, I thought you were more liberal, and so you wouldn't appreciate it. But Joe interviews people from all spectrums. He interviews conservatives, he interviews liberals, he asks them probing questions, he asks them interesting questions. And so people want to go on that podcast because, it is challenging. You're kind of in the hot seat. And I feel like that's what makes it interesting, and that's what makes it relevant. At the end of the day, what's really going to change minds and move things is, I think, Joe Rogan's podcast rather than Meghan Markle, because Meghan Markle only wants to hear the reverberation of her own voice and her own agenda and ideas reflected in her guests. That's who she is. So Tatiana asks, is it true that in the UK, a couple must be separated for 5 years before divorce courts will hear your case? Will they divorce in the US or the UK? Are they preparing for divorce procedures now? I haven't actually heard that. I don't know if anybody else knows divorce procedures in the UK, because I do not. But I would say, and I just don't know. I don't know if I don't feel like that would totally be the case, because I feel like we've heard more people get divorced in the UK, and it doesn't take them 5 years of separation to get it done. So I don't necessarily feel like that will be the case, but I don't know how they've labeled themselves in California, and whether or not California would consider them that they could even do their proceedings there. I'm not sure, but that's where they live. So I imagine that's where they could be. There is a British consulate in Los Angeles, so it would be complicated. So I'm not sure. And I did so I think it would be a complicated whatever it is. And Ariel says, so I'm a white liberal woman from New York. I can't stand listening to her. So yes, not to offend anybody in those sections, because I know there's definitely people in those pockets of the world that are not fans of Meghan. But a lot of people, but that's kind of, I guess, I don't know. She's more hippy dippy LA than anything else. So not to diss on LA, because people are super nice in LA. They really are. Traffic is horrendous. Traffic is absolutely horrendous if you've never been there. It is really one of those weird things. Kooky Toots asks, would the Queen left anything for Harry and Meghan in her will? She may have. They've sealed Prince Philip's will, and I think the Queens would fall under the same. So we won't know probably exactly what they got. When I did the video about the tiaras for Catherine and Camilla, I had a couple of people saying, well, they gave all the jewelry to Meghan or Catherine. And I'm like, no, guys, that's not how it works. So essentially, for the Queen's will, the vast majority of her estate and assets would be left to the Crown estate and to Charles. The reason for that is it's not hit with inheritance taxes. So if she leaves it to him, he can keep the core of the monarchy stuff together. So that's artwork, jewelry, his other historic pieces, furniture, all those things are left within the Crown estate. Now, anything else, for example, Charles sold some of the Queen's racing horses. That could have been to cover some of the debts that have been incurred by the no, wait. Yeah, because I don't think she's actually any inheritance taxes apply. So that wouldn't be the case. But Charles is like, hey, I'm not into racing horses, so I'm just going to go ahead and sell. So there is some personal property aspects, but I imagine most of what's left to other family members is, honestly, at the end of the day, rather minimal. I could see, Harry and Meghan supposedly are making $100 million. Why do they need any cash? Now, I could see the Queen leaving Harry, a couple mementos like she would, I think, for all of her grandchildren. But when it comes to a significant amount of change, I don't think that's the case. And then, when it comes to Catherine, I feel like a blanket needs to say this, guys. She was not left the jewelry; it was left to Camilla. Well, left to Charles, who will then probably give it to Camilla to divvy out and stuff. I'm sure Charles will say to a certain extent, yes, we want some things going here, some things going there. But when it comes to most of the estate things, most of the things they want to keep within the family, it was left to Charles. That the Queen wanted it preserved for the future, so she left it to Charles. So again, yeah, I know. I feel like some people are like so offended that Camilla may have access to the jewelry. It's like, guys, she's a queen. It is what it is. We can't change that. So she's got a great opportunity, and I'm sure we did see that Charlotte had a little horse shoe brooch that the Queen gave her that she wore at her funeral, which I thought was just so sweet of little Miss Charlotte to wear. And I just thought, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's complicated, and most of the time they leave things to the Crown, and that's how it works. P Pacific says, just in a new poll says that Charles is loved more now than ever since becoming king, which I feel like is great, because you need to. He worked really hard. He did everything that was asked of him with pretty much grace, despite his mother passing away rather suddenly. So this was when he was going around and doing the tours and stuff. I mean, some people gave him, I can't remember when I was watching this. Some people gave a little bit of flack um, for Charles getting frustrated at the pen. I was like, guys, his mother just died and he's working 24/7 since she died. He doesn't even get to mourn. He has to work. So just have a little bit of grace for him there. Um, Kateri asks, what would you like to ask from Meghan? I don't know. I think somebody else asked me that kind of recently too. And I don't know, just to get at her a bit. Not to be mean, because I always want to be, even if I interviewed her, I'd be very respectful when interviewing her, just to be kind, because I feel like that's, it's better to be kind than to be rude. And so I would probably just ask her and go, hey, what about that coronation? Are you guys going? Uh, or something like that. I don't know. I would like if I was setting down to do like a serious interview, I would try to dismantle or try to ask questions about most of what she said, especially in the Oprah Winfrey interview about the letters of patent, and try to engage with her and really push her on some of her narrative things. But Meghan is, a pretty sly fox in that way. So I don't know if I would do the best job dismantling what she says. And she won't, I don't think, talk with anybody who doesn't worship the ground she walks on, or she doesn't think worship the ground she walks on. So that would be a bit of what I think. So we'll wrap up here in a minute. So Lori asked Hawkins, I was just going back through and see if I missed anything. Lori, why is the royal family so worried about what Harry's book will say? What could be so bad? Well, I think they're worried at this point that he's just going to make things up, or that his memory has been so twisted that he's going to say things that were historically untrue, that weren't necessarily the case at the time. And I think the family's just like, hey, we just, it's hard to push against somebody who's willing to make things up, because it becomes harder to, I feel like, push back in a way, or they're doing something where it's a half truth, and it's just challenging. And honestly, nobody wants to deal with having a family member who's trashing them on the international stage. Nobody wants to deal with that. That's frustrating and difficult. And you want to keep the line of communication open, yet you also have to pull away and get rid of the oxygen that they have. There's just so many things. So I really feel like the monarchy is worried because they don't fight back in the ways Harry and Meghan do. They're not going to engage in the mudslinging Harry and Meghan are, and that leaves them with with fewer options to respond. I think that I imagine that's really challenging. Oh, Lizzie Beaver says, I'm sad I can't go, but will you be able to repeat the tour for the next coronation? Well, I don't know when the next coronation will be. So I'm definitely planning on doing more trips to the UK and Europe overall. There's one to Scotland that I thought was really interesting. So these are the tour company has kind of specific tours, and then you can do a little bit of personalizing if you want to. So like for us in our tour, the personalizing for the second day, they had something else they generally have people do, but I really want to go. I think it would be much funner for all of us who are into royals to go to the Tower of London and St. Paul's and Kensington Palace. I think that would be a lot more fun. So we will be doing that instead. And so that gives us some options, and it'll be, I think, a lot of fun, but there'll be more coming, hopefully. So I'm just like, because I'm kind of thinking of maybe October for Scotland, but I have to wait and see if that's possible or not, and see if I got to at least sell out the UK one first before saying I want this other one. So, but yeah, there will be more opportunities, guys. Aletha asks McFarlane from Boston. I live in Boston. How will you get tickets for Earthshot? My understanding it is by invitation only. Also, how about Harry asks William to be U.S. Earthshot rep? So I don't think Harry and Meghan will have any involvement in Earthshot whatsoever. I think William is beyond frustrated and doesn't want anything to do with Harry as long as it includes Meghan. He will deal with things as needed, but he's not going to. There'll be no engagement with Meghan. I'm sure William wants to keep her far away. So when it comes to Earthshot, yes, there will be no tickets. I can't get inside the event, but I'm planning on asking, seeing if possible to get media credentials. I'll be outside the venue, so hopefully maybe I can see them arrive, see them departing, maybe ask some people in the crowd, and then if there's anybody like you, Aletha, who lives in Boston, maybe we could have a night and some of us can, meet up and go out for dinner or something, or just have a little meet and greet somewhere. That would be fun. So guys, if that's something of interest to you and live in the Boston area, just let me know. I'll be more specific once I kind of figure out my plan. I have an in now that I think, well, not an official in, but I was like, I actually figured out, oh, I can ask this person, I can ask somebody over here if hopefully that maybe I can get into get maybe a little bit of things to visit and see, and hopefully see them. They'll probably be doing some engagements, so hopefully maybe I can somehow get a bit in the press back. But I don't know if since I'm not totally officially, since I do more commentary right now than straight news, which I will adjust as I can. We'll have to see, but I am going to be there. I will be seeing all the things and trying to, maybe there's memorabilia, and then maybe I'll take you guys around with me a bit while I'm in Boston, because I'll be there for a couple days. So I'll stick to one or two more. But Dana says, how do you think Meghan Markle will try to up the Earthshot Prize to like oh gosh, sorry, brain freeze, to kind of show up it. Well, I think we already do have them getting an award like a couple of days later. And some of the rumor is that their reality TV show will drop at the same time of the Earthshot Prize, or around that time, which if Netflix did that, A, that's just tacky on Netflix's part. But B, I think it would just be kind of sad. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all goes. And I'm hoping that, I hope they don't do that. I hope they wait till later in December, but it depends too on what Netflix wants, because this is Netflix ballpark. And I'm sure Harry and Meghan thought, or Harry Lee's thought, well, they would be so respectful because I'm a prince. And then at the end of the day, Netflix is like, well, no, we're a business and we need to make money. So yeah, your prince status just doesn't really matter much. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast, and thank you so much for your kind thoughts to Pippa. I'd pull her up, but she's laying down, so I'll just let her keep laying down there. So, guys, thank you so much for watching and sticking around, especially as sometimes my brain has frozen a bit and stuff. Somebody said it did freeze, so hopefully it's not. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I love that you guys come on here. It's just so fun. And I'm so glad I started these. I think they're just so great. Hopefully next week it'll be at the same time that it usually is, which is 10 a.m. Hopefully no late night trips to the vet. Or I guess it is Thanksgiving weekend, but not everybody is in the US. So I think we'll still do it. We'll see. All right, guys. Well, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful Saturday and or Sunday if it's really late wherever you are. Bye.